My name is Henry Cole. I'm 72 years old, and I've learned something painful in my time on this earth. The people who should protect you the most are often the ones who hurt you the deepest. Um, Fridays have always been my favorite day. There's something about the end of the week, that feeling of settling in, knowing you've got 2 full days ahead to just be, to breathe, to exist without the weight of obligation pressing down on your chest. For most of my adult life, Fridays meant coming home to my wife, Margaret, cracking open a beer, and just sitting on the porch watching the sun go down. Simple, peaceful, good. Margaret's been gone 4 years now. Cancer, the kind that takes everything slowly, piece by piece, until there's nothing left but memories and an empty side of the bed that never stops feeling cold. But even without her, I kept that Friday tradition alive. I'd fix something around the house, tend to the garden she loved so much, maybe repair a squeaky door or adjust a stubborn clock, keeping busy, keeping her memory alive in the walls we built together. This particular Friday started like any other. I was in the hallway, down on one knee, working on that damn squeaky door hinge I'd been meaning to oil for weeks. The kind of squeak that gets under your skin, you know? Every time someone opened the bathroom door, it was like nails on a chalkboard. Margaret used to joke that the house was talking to us, telling us what needed fixing. I'd laugh, kiss her forehead, and tell her I'd get to it. Well, I finally got to it. I was there with my little oil can, the same one my father gave me when I bought my first house back in 1978. 47 years I've had that oil can. The green paint's mostly worn off now, but it still works. Still does the job. Just like me, I suppose. A little worn, a little rough around the edges, but still useful. Still here. Still working. I tested the door. Back and forth, no more squeak. Just smooth, silent movement. There's a satisfaction in that, in fixing things. In taking something broken and making it whole again. I've spent my entire life doing that, fixing things, fixing houses, fixing cars, fixing problems. I thought that's what fathers did, what grandfathers did. We fixed things. We held things together. I was wiping the excess oil off my hands with an old rag when my phone buzzed on the hallway table. That sharp, insistent vibration against the wood. Once, twice, 3 times. I remember thinking how odd it was. Usually my phone's pretty quiet. A text from Mia, my granddaughter, checking in, maybe a notification from the bank, but 3 messages in quick succession, that was unusual. I stood up, my knees cracking the way they do now. Everything creaks after 70, I swear. Even my own body's got squeaky hinges these days. Can't oil those away. I walked over to the table, picked up my phone, and saw the notification. It was from the family group chat. You know the one. Every family's got one now. Ours was called Family House Matters. Family House Matters. I should have known from the name itself what it really meant. It wasn't about family. It was about the house, about property, about money, about what they could get. The first message was from my son, David, my boy. The kid I raised, taught to ride a bike, helped with homework, walked through his first heartbreak, stood beside when he married Lisa, the man I thought I knew. The message was short, clinical, cold as winter concrete. Dad, after talking with Lisa and the kids, we think it's time you moved into assisted living. We need the house to ourselves. Please don't make this difficult. I read it once, then twice, then a 3rd time, each word sinking in like stones dropping into my stomach. Assisted living. They think it's time, they need the house. Don't make this difficult. Not Dad, we're worried about you. Not we want to help. Not even can we talk about this? Just a decision already made, final, as if I were a problem to be solved, a burden to be relocated, an obstacle to be removed from property they'd already mentally claimed as their own. My hands started shaking. Not from age, not from weakness, from something else, something hot and heavy building in my chest. Before I could even process the first message, another one popped up. This one from Lisa, David's wife, my daughter-in-law, for the past 17 years. It's what's best for everyone. We need space. Best for everyone. We need space. Not we need space for you to be comfortable. Not space to take care of you. Just space. From me. Away from me. Without me. I stood there in my hallway. Next to the door I just fixed. In the house I'd lived in for 43 years, the house where I raised my children, where I nursed my dying wife, where every corner held a memory and every room told a story, and I felt something inside me go very, very still. You know that moment, that exact second when something fundamental shifts? When the world you thought you knew rearranges itself into something you don't recognize. Some people call it a breaking point. I call it the click. The click is when everything suddenly makes sense in the worst possible way. When all the little things you ignored, all the red flags you explained away, all the uncomfortable moments you brushed aside, they all line up like dominoes and you see the pattern you refused to see before. The click is when you realize you've been a fool. I didn't yell. I didn't throw my phone. I didn't call David immediately and demand to know what the hell he was thinking. Margaret always said I had a temper when I was younger, and she was right. I did. I'd blow up, shout, get it all out, then cool down and apologize. But something happened after she died. Something in me went quiet. Maybe it was grief. Maybe it was age. Maybe it was just being too damn tired to waste energy on explosions that don't change anything. So I didn't explode. Just stood there, feeling that stillness spread through me like ice water in my veins. I looked down at my phone and typed one word. Just one. Let them sit with it. Let them think about it. Understood. Then I set the phone down, walked to my living room, and sat in my chair. Margaret's chair sat empty beside mine the way it always did, the way it always would. I looked at it, at the floral cushion she picked out herself, and I felt my throat tighten. "They want me gone, Maggie," I said to the empty chair. "Our boy wants his old man out of the house." The chair didn't answer. It never does. But I swear, in that moment, I could feel her presence, that particular kind of angry disappointment she used to have when someone did something inexcusably wrong. She'd get this look on her face, her lips would thin, and she'd shake her head slowly. I could feel that look now, directed at our son, from wherever she was. I sat there for a long time, maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour. Time does funny things when your world tilts sideways. My mind was racing, but my body was perfectly still. That's the thing about the click. It brings a strange kind of clarity, coldness that sharpens everything into focus. They wanted the house to themselves. They needed space. After talking with Lisa and the kids, not after talking with me about me, I wasn't part of the conversation. I was the subject of it, the problem they discussed and solved without ever asking me what I thought, what I wanted, how I felt. They'd made a decision about my life, about my home, about my future, and then informed me of it like I was some employee being transferred to a different department. Assisted living, like I was incapable of living on my own, like I was some senile old fool who couldn't dress himself or remember where he put his keys. I'm 72, not 92. I mow my own lawn. I fix my own problems. I cook my own meals. I drive my own car. I'm not weak. I'm not helpless. I'm not ready to be warehoused in some facility with beige walls and bingo on Tuesdays. But that's not what this was really about, was it? It wasn't about my capability. It wasn't about my health or my safety or my well-being. It was about convenience. Their convenience about clearing me out so they could have the house, so they could spread out, take over, claim what they'd been eyeing for who knows how long. I stood up and walked to my home office. It's a small room, used to be a second bedroom before the kids moved out. Margaret helped me paint it a deep navy blue, said it would help me think. My desk is old oak, scratched and worn, but solid. I've had it since before David was born. Everything I need is in this desk. I opened the second drawer on the right side. There, underneath some old notepads and a broken calculator I kept meaning to throw away, was a large manila envelope, thick, heavy. I'd labeled it 3 years ago in my own handwriting. Property tax and repairs. For them. For them. Not for me. For them. My hands were steadier now as I pulled out the envelope and dumped its contents onto the desk. Paper after paper after paper spilled out. Bank statements, tax receipts, canceled checks, contractor invoices, credit card statements, 3 years worth of documentation, 3 years of secrets I'd kept because I thought I was helping, because I thought that's what good fathers did. We protected, we provided, we carried the weight so our children didn't have to. I was such a goddamn fool. Let me explain something to you. When Margaret died, she left behind some life insurance. Not a fortune, but enough to be comfortable, enough to know I wouldn't starve, wouldn't lose the house, wouldn't end up on the street in my final years. She'd planned it that way, my Maggie. Always thinking ahead, always protecting me, even after she was gone. 6 months after her funeral, David and Lisa moved into this house. Our house. The one Margaret and I bought in 1982, the one we poured our savings into, our labor into, our love into. David said they were having financial troubles. The economy was rough, he said. Lisa had lost her job. They had the kids to think about. Could they stay with me for a while, just until they got back on their feet? What was I supposed to say? No, you can't come home. This is my son, my only child, and his family, my grandchildren. Of course, I said yes. Of course, I opened my doors. That's what family does, right? We help each other. We're supposed to help each other. A while turned into a year, then 2, then 3, and somewhere in that time, something shifted. The house stopped being mine in their eyes. It became theirs. They redecorated, changed things, made decisions without asking me, started calling it our house instead of Dad's house. And the bills. Oh God, the bills. I started noticing about 2 years in, David would mention money stress, always in passing, never directly asking, but definitely implying. The property taxes are coming due. That's going to be rough. The insurance bill is crazy high this year. The water heater's acting up. That's going to be expensive to replace. And like an idiot, like a complete fool, I started taking care of them, quietly, without fanfare, without even telling David directly what I was doing. I set up automatic payments from my account. Property taxes, I paid them. House insurance, my credit card. When the roof needed replacing after that bad storm 2 springs ago, I got the contractor quotes, wrote the check, had them fix it. $7,800 out of my pension savings. When the furnace died in the middle of January, I paid for the new one. When the AC unit started making that grinding noise last summer, I had it serviced and replaced parts. When the plumbing backed up, when the fence needed replacing, when the driveway cracked and needed sealing, I paid and paid and paid. I kept all the receipts, every single one. Filed them in this envelope like some neurotic accountant, thinking maybe someday I'd show David, let him know what I'd been doing, let him understand how much I'd contributed. Maybe I wanted him to see that I was still useful, still valuable, still needed. Or maybe deep down, I knew someday I might need proof, evidence that I wasn't just some freeloader living in their house, evidence that I'd been the one holding everything together while they planned their future in my present. And here's the thing, I'd made it invisible to them, set up a P.O. box years ago for all the house bills, property tax statements, insurance renewals, contractor invoices. All of it came to that little box at the post office, not to the house. I'd handle everything online, pay everything electronically. I thought I was protecting them from stress, from worry, from having to think about these things. I thought I was being a good father, a helpful grandfather, taking the burden off their shoulders. Really? I was protecting them from reality, from understanding what it actually cost to keep that house running, from knowing who was holding everything together while they complained about money and planned my exit. The bank statements were particularly interesting to look at now, in this new light of abandonment. I pulled up my banking app on my phone. Still sitting there in my list of recurring payments: property tax, automatic, home insurance, automatic, HOA dues, automatic. All in my name, all coming out of my account, all keeping their precious house running while they decided I was too much of a burden to keep around. I stared at that screen for a long time. At those three little switches, all flipped to on, three tiny digital toggles that represented thousands of dollars every year flowing from my dwindling savings into maintaining a home they were now trying to kick me out of. You want to know what revenge feels like in its earliest form? It's not hot, it's not explosive, it's cold, calculating. It's a calmness that feels almost like peace, except there's an edge to it, a sharpness like ice that looks beautiful but cuts when you touch it. I pulled up my computer, logged into my bank account on the bigger screen where I could see everything clearly. I navigated to my automatic payments page, 3 years of payments, tens of thousands of dollars, all documented, all traceable, all provable. My cursor hovered over the first one. Property tax, the annual payment was $6,400, split into 2 installments, both set to pay automatically from my checking account. Due dates were programmed in, everything on autopilot. Taking care of things, taking care of them. They think it's time I moved. They need the house. They need space. My finger moved to the mouse. 1 click. That's all it would take. 1 click to cancel the automatic payment. No drama, no confrontation. Just a quiet, digital choice that would ripple out in ways they couldn't possibly predict yet. Same hands that fixed this house can also stop paying. For it, I whispered to the empty room. I clicked cancel. A small pop-up appeared. Are you sure you want to cancel this automatic payment? Yes, I'm sure. Delete. Confirm. The page refreshed. Property tax. Automatic payment canceled. Then the home insurance. Another click, another confirmation, another cancellation. Then the HOA dues. Click. Gone. 3 clicks. 3 seconds. 3 years of silent support erased with the movement of my index finger. I sat back in my chair looking at the screen. The words "no automatic payments scheduled" stared back at me in plain, unremarkable text. Such a small thing, such a quiet rebellion. They wouldn't even know yet, wouldn't know for weeks, maybe months, until the bills came due and there was no money there to pay them, until the notices started arriving, until the consequences of their convenience caught up with them. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel mean. I didn't even feel particularly angry anymore. I felt clear. The first time in 3 years, maybe longer, I felt absolutely clear about what was happening and what needed to happen next. They wanted me out? Fine. I'd leave. But I'd leave on my terms, in my time, and they'd learn a very expensive lesson about what happens when you mistake quiet kindness for weakness. Margaret used to say I had a soft heart. She'd kiss my cheek and tell me I was too generous, too willing to give without asking for anything in return. She worried people would take advantage of me. I'd always laugh it off, tell her I could handle myself. That family was different. God, I missed her wisdom, missed her warning voice in my ear, but I could feel her presence now in this quiet office, in this moment of decision. And I knew somehow she'd understand. She'd see this not as cruelty, but as necessary. A father teaching his son a lesson he should have learned long ago. Respect the people who sacrifice for you or lose them entirely. I printed out 3 copies of the automatic payment cancellation confirmations, filed one in the envelope, put one in my safe, kept one on my desk where I could see it, proof, evidence, receipt. Then I closed the envelope, put it back in its drawer, and shut down my computer. The house was quiet around me, that particular kind of silence that comes just before everything changes, the calm before the storm, The breath before the fall. My phone buzzed again. I picked it up, already knowing what I'd find. More messages in the family group chat. David again. Dad, did you see my message? Lisa, we're doing this for your own good. At your age, you need to be somewhere with medical support. At my age. As if 72 was ancient. As if I was one fall away from needing round-the-clock care. I wanted to type back something cutting, something that would hurt the way their words hurt, but instead I set the phone down, face down on the desk, and walked away. Let them wait, let them wonder, let them stew in my one-word response, and try to figure out what understood really meant. Because here's what they didn't understand yet. I'd understood everything. Every calculation, every manipulation. Every moment they'd seen me as a problem instead of a person. And understanding led to clarity. And clarity led to action. And action, well, action was going to cost them more than they'd ever imagined. I walked back to the living room, sat in my chair, and looked at Margaret's empty seat. "They're going to learn, Maggie," I said softly. "I promise you, they're going to learn." The afternoon sun slanted through the windows, casting long shadows across the floor. Friday afternoon, still my favorite time of the week. But this Friday was different. This Friday was when everything began to change. This Friday was when Henry Cole stopped being the convenient, compliant father and became something else entirely. This Friday was when the Cold War began, and they had no idea what was coming. The weekend passed in a strange kind of suspended animation. Saturday came and went. David didn't call, didn't text again, didn't show up at the door, demanding to talk. I think part of him expected me to fall apart, to call him crying, begging to reconsider, pleading for them not to send me away. That's what the old Henry would have done, the Henry who fixed things and smoothed over problems and made everyone comfortable, even when it cost him his own peace. But that Henry was gone, buried somewhere between "we need the house to ourselves" and "don't make this difficult." Sunday afternoon, I was in the garage organizing my toolbox when my phone rang. Not a text this time, an actual call. I looked at the screen and felt something warm break through the cold shell I'd built around myself. Mia, my granddaughter, 16 years old, bright as summer sunshine. The only one in that whole family who still looked at me like I mattered. I wiped my hands on my work pants and answered, "Hey, kiddo." "Grandpa." Her voice was high, strained on the edge of tears. "Grandpa, is it true? Are you really moving out?" I closed my eyes, leaning against my workbench. Of course they'd told her. Of course they'd framed it their way first, getting ahead of the story, controlling the narrative before I could say anything. "Where'd you hear that, Mia?" "Mom told me. She said you're going to a really nice place where they can take better care of you. She said it's what you want, but Grandpa, that can't be right. You love this house. You and Grandma built your whole life here. You wouldn't just leave, would you?" The pain in her voice nearly broke me. Of all the people in that house, Mia was the only one who still visited me, who still came to my room to show me her homework, to tell me about her day, to ask about Margaret and what she was like when she was young. She was the only one who remembered I was a person, not just furniture in the background of their lives. "Sweetheart," I said carefully, "sometimes grown-ups make decisions that are complicated, but I want you to know something. Whatever happens, it has nothing to do with you. You've been the best part of living in this house these last few years. You know that, right? But you're not answering me." She pressed, and I could hear her mother's persistence in her voice. "Good. Smart girl. Never accept the non-answer. Are you leaving because you want to, or because they're making you? How do you tell your 16-year-old granddaughter that her parents are throwing you out? How do you explain that without poisoning her relationship with them, without putting her in the middle of something ugly? Mia, let me ask you something. When your mom told you about this, did she seem happy or sad?" There was a pause. "She seemed relieved, like something stressful was finally getting solved. But Grandpa, that doesn't make sense. How is you leaving a good thing?" Smart girl. Too smart. She could see through the spin they were putting on this. Listen to me carefully, kiddo. Sometimes people don't realize who keeps the lights on until the lights go out. You understand what I'm saying? Not really, she admitted. You will. Soon. And when you do, I want you to remember something. This isn't your fault. None of it. And no matter what happens between me and your parents, you and me, we're solid. Always. You're scaring me, Grandpa. Don't be scared. I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. I'm finally seeing things clearly. Hey, you know that old saying Grandma Margaret used to tell you about how you can't appreciate the warmth until you've felt the cold? Yeah, Mia said quietly. Well, some people are about to get a harsh reminder about that, but you don't worry about it. You focus on school, on your life, on being young. Let the adults handle the adult stuff. We talked for a few more minutes about her upcoming chemistry test, about a boy she liked but wouldn't name, about normal things. When we finally hung up, I felt that cold clarity settle over me again, but this time with an edge of protectiveness. They wanted to push me out? Fine. But if they thought they were going to turn Mia against me, poison the one pure relationship I had left in this family, they had another thing coming. I went back inside, made myself dinner, and tried to focus on the television, but my mind kept wandering to the canceled payments, to the calendar, to when the first bill would come due without me there to catch it. Monday morning, the silence broke. My phone started buzzing at 6:47 a.m., text after text after text. I was in the kitchen making coffee, that first precious cup that makes the day possible, when the barrage began. David. Dad, call me. Now. Something's wrong with the house payments. Then 2 minutes later. Dad, seriously, I just checked our shared bank account dashboard. The automatic payments aren't showing up. Nothing scheduled. Then Lisa, jumping in. What did you do? I got an email notification that our property tax auto pay was canceled. Did you do that? Then David again. This isn't funny. Call me back right now. I took my time, poured my coffee, added cream and sugar the way Margaret taught me, carried it to the table, sat down, took a long, slow sip, let them panic, let them scramble, let them feel a tiny fraction of the anxiety they'd casually dropped onto me with their cold little texts about assisted living. The phone kept buzzing. I turned it face down on the table and opened the newspaper. The physical one, the kind they still deliver to old men like me who enjoy the ritual of turning pages and folding them just right. Another buzz, then another, then my phone actually started ringing. David's name flashing on the screen. I let it go to voicemail, took another sip of coffee, read about the city council meeting debate over the new shopping center. The voicemail notification appeared. I didn't listen to it, not yet. Let him sit in his worry for a while. Let him feel what it's like to be ignored, to have your urgent concerns treated like they don't matter. By 8:30, the group chat was blowing up. I finally picked up my phone to read the messages, each one more frantic than the last. David, Dad, if this is about what we said Friday, we can talk about it, but you need to fix the payment situation. This is serious. Lisa, I got 3 email alerts this morning. Property tax, insurance, and HOA payments all canceled. The next property tax installment is due in 30 days. If we miss it, there'll be penalties. David, Dad, please, I don't understand what's happening. Did the bank mess something up? Did your account get hacked? Oh, that was Rich. Did the bank mess up? Did I get hacked? Any explanation except the obvious one, that maybe, just maybe, the old man they were planning to warehouse had been the one keeping their ship afloat all along. Lisa again, and this time the mask slipped. If this messes up our loan approval, I'm going to be furious. We've been working on refinancing for months. Refinancing my house that they wanted to kick me out of. They were trying to refinance it, probably to pull equity out, to fund their lifestyle upgrades and their plans, and they needed everything in perfect order for that to go through. Tax payments current, insurance active, no red flags. And I'd just thrown a very big red flag right into the middle of their financial plans. I set the phone down and smiled. Not a nice smile, a cold one. The kind of smile that Margaret used to give me when she knew I was about to learn a lesson the hard way and she wasn't going to stop it. I didn't respond to any of the messages. Not one. Let them stew, let them wonder, let them scramble to figure out what went wrong without the easy answer of just asking me because they'd already established I wasn't important enough to include in their family decisions. Tuesday brought more of the same, more frantic texts, more increasingly desperate questions. David called 4 times. Lisa called twice. I ignored every single call, every single text. I was done being accessible, done being the convenient solution to their problems. Wednesday afternoon, Mia texted me, "Grandpa, are you okay? Mom and Dad are freaking out about house bills. Do you know what's going on?" I replied to her immediately, "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just some grown-up financial stuff. Nothing for you to worry about. How'd that chemistry test go?" We chatted about school, about her friend drama, about normal 16-year-old things. She didn't need to be in the middle of this. She was the only innocent one left in that house. Thursday morning, I was scrolling through Facebook, something I rarely did, but Margaret had set up an account for me years ago to see pictures of Mia growing up. That's when I saw it. Lisa had posted something new, a selfie. She was wearing what I recognized as her serious concern face, the one she practiced for sympathy. The post read, "Caring for elderly parents is so hard, especially when they're stubborn and don't appreciate all you do for them. Dealing with some difficult family situations right now. Please send prayers and good thoughts. Remember to set boundaries. Self-care isn't selfish." I stared at that post for a long time, read it 5, 6, 7 times, each word cutting deeper than the last, caring for elderly parents as if they'd done a damn thing to care for me. I cooked my own meals, cleaned my own room, washed my own clothes. The only thing they'd cared for was my ability to quietly pay their bills while they planned my exit strategy. Stubborn and don't appreciate. I was stubborn. I didn't appreciate. I'd paid tens of thousands of dollars over 3 years and never asked for a thank you, never mentioned it, never held it over their heads. But I was the unappreciative one. Set boundaries. Self-care isn't selfish. The language of pop psychology weaponized to justify cruelty, to make abandoning your elderly father sound like enlightened self-preservation. The comments were already piling up. Her friends, people who didn't know me, who'd never met me, who had no idea what was really happening, all chiming in with their support. "You're so strong, Lisa. Boundaries are so important. Elderly parents can be such a burden. You're doing the right thing. Don't let anyone guilt you. You have to take care of yourself first. Praying for you, girl. Stay strong." I felt something hot surge up through the cold. Rage. Pure, burning rage. She was spinning this, making herself the victim, the martyr, the poor daughter-in-law struggling under the weight of an ungrateful old man who didn't appreciate her sacrifices. My phone buzzed, a text from Mia. "Grandpa, did you see what Mom posted?" She'd sent a screenshot of the Facebook post, probably because she knew I didn't check social media often. My smart girl, my ally, the only one who saw through this. I took a deep breath, let the rage settle back down into cold. Determination. Getting angry wouldn't help. Staying calm, staying strategic. That's what would win this. I texted Mia back. "I saw it. Sometimes people who want sympathy don't tell the whole story. Don't worry about it, kiddo. Truth has a way of coming out." "It's not fair," she replied. "You never did anything to her." Life often isn't fair, Mia, but that doesn't mean we give up. It means we make sure people face the consequences of their choices. You'll understand soon. "Are you going to say something? Correct her?" "No, I'm going to do something better. I'm going to let reality do the talking." I set the phone down and walked back to my office, pulled out that manila envelope again, the one marked property tax and repairs for them. I spread the contents across my desk again, but this time I really looked at them, really added up the numbers. 3 years of documentation. Let me break it down for you because I'd never actually calculated the total before, never wanted to make it transactional, never wanted to keep score. Property taxes, $6,400 annually. 3 years, $19,200. Home insurance, $2,100 annually. 3 years, $6,300. HOA dues, $850 annually. 3 years, $2,550. Then the repairs. Oh God, the repairs. New roof after storm damage, $7,800. Furnace replacement, $4,200. AC unit repairs, $1,650. Water heater, $890. Plumbing emergency, $1,200. Fence repair, $2,100. Driveway ceiling, $650. Garage door motor, $425. Electrical panel upgrade, $3,200. Various other smaller fixes, maybe another $2,000, give or take. I pulled out a calculator and started adding. The total kept climbing and climbing and climbing. $52,965. $52,165. I'd spent over $50,000 in 3 years keeping their house running. Margaret's life insurance money, my pension savings, my retirement security, all quietly funneled into maintaining a home they were now trying to kick me out of. I sat back in my chair, that number echoing in my head. $52,000. I could have traveled the world, could have bought a nice little condo somewhere warm, could have set aside a real nest egg for true emergencies. Instead, I'd propped up my son's lifestyle while he and his wife planned to warehouse me in assisted living and refinance my house for their benefit. The rage came back, but colder now. More focused, I grabbed a yellow legal pad and started organizing the receipts chronologically. 3 years broken down month by month, every payment, every repair, every time I'd quietly fixed a problem without asking for recognition or reimbursement. I made notes in the margins. Asked if I wanted help with this? No. Thanked me for this expense? No. Knew I was paying? No. P.O. box system kept it invisible? That last note was important. They genuinely didn't know because I'd made sure they didn't know. I'd routed everything through that P.O. box, handled it all online, kept them blissfully ignorant. At the time, I thought I was being noble, generous, a good father, taking care of his family without making them feel indebted. Now I could see it for what it was, enabling. I'd enabled them to take me for granted, to see the house as theirs, to forget who was actually keeping it all running. I spent the rest of Thursday organizing everything into a comprehensive file, made copies, put one set in my safe deposit box at the bank, kept one set in my locked filing cabinet, put one set in that envelope on my desk. $52,000 worth of receipts, 52,000 reasons they were wrong, 52,000 pieces of proof that I wasn't the burden they were. Friday came exactly 1 week after the first message that changed everything. I was sitting in my chair reading when the group chat exploded again. David: Dad, we need to talk. Face to face. This has gone on long enough. Lisa: We're trying to be patient, but you're putting us in an impossible situation. The loan officer needs proof that all house obligations are current. You're sabotaging our finances. Sabotaging their finances. The audacity, the absolute gall. I was sabotaging them by stopping my financial support, by no longer voluntarily paying for a house they were trying to steal from me. David again: Dad, I'm coming over. We need to settle this. I looked at that message for a long time. Coming over to settle this, as if he could just show up, throw some words at me, maybe guilt me or pressure me, and everything would go back to the way it was. Me paying, them taking, me invisible, them comfortable. I typed back my first response in a week. I'm not home. It was true. I had somewhere to be, something to do, a next step in this cold war that had been building for 7 days. I grabbed my keys, grabbed that envelope, and drove to a storage facility 3 miles from the house. I'd rented a unit there on Saturday, the day after they sent that text. A small 5x5 space, climate controlled. I'd started moving things out immediately. Well, over the past week, piece by piece, I'd been quietly extracting my life from that house. Not everything, not obvious things, but my important things. Margaret's jewelry, our wedding album, photos, my father's tools, my mother's china, things that mattered, things with history, things I didn't trust to leave in a house where I was clearly no longer welcome. I spent Friday afternoon moving more boxes, my old Army uniform, letters Margaret wrote me when I was deployed, Mia's artwork from when she was little that I'd saved, my collection of vinyl records, the quilt Margaret's mother made us for our wedding. Piece by piece, memory by memory, I was extracting my life from that house before they could decide what to do with it. By evening, my phone had 17 missed calls, 9 from David, 6 from Lisa, 2 from a number I didn't recognize, 1 voicemail. I finally listened to it. David's voice, strained and frustrated. Dad, what the hell's going on? First, the payment stopped. Now, you're ghosting us. We're trying to handle this like adults. The least you could do is talk to us. Call me back, please. Handle this like adults. That's what adults do, I suppose. They tell their father he's being moved to assisted living via group chat, then expect him to help them refinance the house they're stealing from him. Saturday morning, I woke up to find a different message in the group chat. This one from David, but the tone had shifted from frustrated to panicked. Dad, we just got the official bill reminder from the county. The next property tax payment is due in 3 weeks. With the auto pay canceled and no payments scheduled, we're going to miss the deadline. There'll be a 10% penalty, and if it goes 60 days overdue, they can put a lien on the house. This will destroy the refinancing. It will tank our credit. You can't do this to us. Can't do this to them. To them. As if I were the one who started this. As if I were the aggressor. As if my crime wasn't stopping their eviction plans, but rather stopping my wallet from being their safety net. Lisa chimed in. We have a family meeting scheduled with the loan officer on Tuesday. If we can't show proof that all house expenses are current and scheduled, we lose the refinance. Do you understand what you're doing? We could lose the house. Lose the house? Margaret's house. My house. The house I'd paid $50,000 to maintain over 3 years. That house. I typed one message back. Short, simple, true. You want the house without me? Now you get the house with all its responsibilities. Welcome to ownership. Then I muted the group chat. Let them scream into the void. I was done listening. Sunday afternoon, there was a sharp knock on my door. Not the gentle tap of a visitor, the aggressive pound of someone who feels entitled to your attention. I looked through the peephole. David and Lisa stood on my doorstep. David looked rumpled, stressed. Lisa looked furious, her arms crossed, her face set in that particular expression of barely controlled rage. I opened the door, but didn't step back, didn't invite them in, just stood in the doorway, blocking their entry into my space the way they'd blocked my place in their lives. Hey, Dad, David said, trying for casual, but landing somewhere around desperate. Can we come in? We really need to talk. I'm comfortable talking right here, I said. Lisa's jaw tightened. Henry, this is serious. We need to discuss what's happening with the house finances. I'm listening, I said. Still not moving, still not budging. David ran his hand through his hair, a nervous gesture I recognized from when he was a kid and got caught doing something wrong. Dad, look, I don't know what's going on with you. I don't know if this is about what we said last week or if there's some kind of banking error or what, but we need you to fix the payment situation. The taxes, the insurance, all of it, we're drowning here. Drowning, I repeated. Interesting word. Choice. We're serious, Lisa snapped. We have bills piling up, penalty fees coming. The refinance is in jeopardy. You're putting us in an impossible position. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd lived in my house for 3 years, who'd redecorated my walls and made decisions about my home, who'd posted on Facebook about what a burden I was. This woman who'd Helped convince my son to throw me away like garbage. Lisa? I said, my voice calm as still water. I'm not putting you anywhere. I'm simply no longer carrying you. What's that supposed to mean? David demanded. It means, I said slowly, that you told me you needed the house to yourselves. You told me I was going to assisted living. You made it very clear that my presence was inconvenient and my place was elsewhere. So I'm honoring that. I'm removing myself from the situation. All of me, including my financial contributions. David's face went pale. Wait, Dad, have you been paying the property taxes? The fact that he had to ask, the fact that after 3 years of living in that house, he didn't know for certain who was paying the bills. That told me everything. Yes, I said simply. For 3 years, property taxes, home insurance, HOA dues, plus roughly $24,000 in major repairs. Total? I let that number hang in the air. About $52,000. The silence was profound. I watched the calculation happen on David's face. The shock, the realization, the slow dawning of understanding. 52, he started, then stopped. Dad, why didn't you tell us? Would it have changed anything? I asked. Would you still have sent that message about assisted living if you knew I'd been keeping your house standing all this time? He didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because we both knew the truth. They'd known on some level. They just hadn't wanted to know officially. Lisa found her voice first. If you were paying all that, why didn't you say something? Why let us think? Think what? I interrupted. That the house ran itself, that bills paid themselves, that the roof repaired itself by magic. I shook my head. I didn't hide it from you. I just didn't make a production out of it. I thought that's what family did, take care of each other quietly without keeping score. Apparently, I was wrong about a lot of things. David looked like he'd been punched. Dad, I didn't realize. I knew the bills were getting paid, but I thought maybe the HOA covered some things or the insurance or... You thought what was convenient to think? I said, cutting through his excuses. You didn't ask because you didn't want to know, because knowing would mean owing, and owing would mean you couldn't just... What was the phrase? We need the house to ourselves. Please don't make this difficult. That's not fair, Lisa said, her voice rising. We were trying to think about what's best for you. You're 72 years old. Living alone isn't safe. I'm not living alone. I'm living in a house with 4 other people who apparently forgot I exist, unless they need something, and now you don't even need me for that. You just need me gone. Dad, come on, David pleaded. You're taking this the wrong way. We weren't trying to what? Throw me out? Because that's exactly what you did, via group text. Not even the respect of a face-to-face conversation. Not even the courtesy of asking how I felt about it. Just a decision already made that I was expected to accept without complaint. David opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. We thought you'd understand that you'd want to be somewhere with support. I had support, I said quietly. I had my home, I had my memories, I had my room where Margaret and I spent 40 years together. I had my garden she planted, I had my granddaughter visiting me. That was support. What you offered was exile dressed up as concern. The fight went out of David's shoulders. He suddenly looked older, tired. What do you want from us, Dad? What did I want? That was the question, wasn't it? What does a father want from the son who decided he was disposable? I want you to feel it, I said. I want you to feel what it's like when the safety net disappears, when the person who was quietly holding everything together steps back, when you realize too late what you had and what you threw away. So this is revenge? Lisa spat. You're punishing us, putting our home at risk because your feelings are hurt? It's not your home, I said, and my voice was ice. It's my home, mine and Margaret's. The home we bought, the home we built, the home I've been paying to maintain while you lived in it rent-free and planned your future in it. You want it to be your home. Then pay for it. Own it. All of it. The taxes, the insurance, the repairs, the responsibility. You wanted me out? I'm out. But my wallet is too. You can't do this to us, Lisa said, but her voice wavered. I already did it, I replied, last Friday. The day you sent that text. Last Friday? David's voice cracked. Dad, the penalties, the fees, if we don't pay the next installment in 3 weeks, the penalties start mounting. If it goes 60 days, we could lose everything. Then pay, I said simply. You're both adults with jobs. Figure it out. That's what adults do, right? Handle things themselves? I started to close the door, but David put his hand up. Wait, Dad, please. Can we at least talk about this? Work something out? Work something out, I repeated. Like refinancing my house without telling me? Like kicking me out so you could have more space? What exactly do you want to work out, David? He didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because what could he say? We're sorry. Can you please go back to paying for everything while we warehouse you in assisted living? I'll tell you what, I said. I'm going to drop something off at the house tomorrow. Some information you might find illuminating after you've had a chance to look at it. If you want to have a real conversation, a real one, where you actually listen and take responsibility, then we can talk. But until then, I have nothing more to say to you. I closed the door, gently but firmly. Through the peephole, I watched them stand there for a long moment. Lisa said something to David, sharp and angry. He shook his head, looked defeated. They finally walked away. I leaned against the closed door, my heart pounding. That was harder than I expected, seeing David's face when he realized what he'd done, seeing the panic, the fear. Part of me wanted to fix it, to make it better, to swoop in and save them like I'd always done. But that part of me had been killed by a group chat message, and what remained was harder, colder, wiser. Monday morning, I made copies. 3 complete sets of every receipt, every bank statement, every proof of payment. $52,000 of evidence, organized chronologically in 3 thick folders. One folder went back into my safe deposit box. One folder stayed in my locked filing cabinet. One folder went into a large manila envelope. I sat at my desk and wrote a note. Not long, not dramatic, just true. David and Lisa, for 3 years, I have quietly paid the property taxes, insurance, HOA dues, and major repairs on the house you live in. The house you told me you need to yourselves. The house you were planning to refinance. Enclosed are copies of every receipt, every payment, every time I chose to help without asking for recognition or reimbursement. Total, 52,965. You didn't just push an old man out, you pushed out the one person keeping your house standing, the one person who loved you enough to sacrifice his retirement savings for your comfort. I'm not asking for the money back. I'm asking that you understand what was lost when you decided I was disposable. You wanted the house without me. Now you have it, with all its responsibilities, with all its costs, with all the weight I'd been carrying alone. I hope it was worth it. Dad. I sealed the envelope, addressed it to both of them. Then I drove to the house, my house, the house where I'd lived for 43 years, where I'd raised my son, where I'd buried my wife's ashes in the garden she loved. It was mid-morning. David would be at work. Lisa would be out doing whatever Lisa did during the day. Mia would be at school. The house would be empty. I parked in the driveway. Sat there for a moment looking at the place, the new paint they'd chosen without asking me, the new mailbox they'd installed, the garden beds where Margaret's roses used to bloom, now filled with ornamental grasses I didn't recognize. They'd already erased me, removed my presence, made it theirs, while I was just too stupid to see it happening in real time. I got out of the car, walked to the front door with the envelope in my hand. I had a key. Could have walked right in, but I didn't. Because it wasn't my home anymore. Not really. They'd made that clear. Instead, I opened the mail slot and slid the envelope through. I heard it land on the hardwood floor of the entryway with a soft thud. That sound, that quiet, anticlimactic little thud was the sound of everything changing. I stood there on the porch for a moment, thought about all the times I'd stood here, coming home from work, carrying Margaret over the threshold, teaching David to ride his bike on this driveway, Mia's first steps right there on that walkway. So many memories, so much love, so much history, all of it disposable, apparently. I turned and walked back to my car, didn't look back, couldn't. If I looked back, I might weaken, might regret, might second guess, but I'd done what needed to be done. The truth was delivered. Now they'd have to face it. I drove back to my little apartment, the one I'd looked at Saturday morning, the day after they sent that text, and signed the lease for Monday. It was small, just a one-bedroom, but it was mine, truly mine. No one could take it from me. No one could decide I didn't belong there. I'd been slowly moving my important things in from the storage unit all week, setting up my space, making it a home. It didn't have Margaret's touch yet, but it would. I'd brought her favorite lamp, her reading chair, photos of her everywhere. She was with me. She'd always be with me. The rest of Monday was quiet, peaceful even. I read, watched some television, made myself dinner, normal old man things. The calm before the storm. Tuesday afternoon, my phone started buzzing. Not texts this time, calls. David calling over and over. Then Lisa. Then David again. I let them all go to voicemail. Finally, a text from David. Dad, we got your envelope. We need to talk. Please call me. Then Lisa. We had no idea you were spending this much. We need to discuss this. Then David again. Dad, please, the loan officer meeting is in 2 hours. We need to know what to do. What to do? As if I had the answer. As if I owed them a solution to the problem they created. I texted back one sentence. Do what adults do. Figure it out. Then I muted my phone and went for a walk. When I got back, an hour later, I had 23 missed calls and 14 text messages. I didn't read them, didn't listen to the voicemails, just set my phone on the charger and made myself tea. Wednesday morning, Mia called. I answered immediately. Grandpa? Her voice was thick, like she'd been crying. Grandpa, what's happening? Mom and Dad are freaking out. They're yelling at each other. Dad keeps saying something about money and the house and that you've been paying for everything. Is that true? It's true, sweetheart. Why didn't you tell anyone? I did tell someone. I told you just the other day. Remember? Sometimes people don't realize who keeps the lights on until the lights go out. Oh my God, she breathed. You meant literally. You've been paying the bills. For 3 years, kiddo. But your parents decided I was too much of a burden to keep around, so I removed the burden. All of it. Grandpa, Mom deleted her Facebook post, the one about boundaries and self-care. She took it down last night. That caught my attention. Did she? Yeah. And people were commenting on it before she deleted it. Someone must have told them what was really going on because the comments were getting mean. People asking if it was true that you'd been supporting them. Asking how they could kick you out when you were paying for their house. I felt a cold satisfaction at that. The truth had gotten out. Somehow someone had connected the dots and the public narrative was shifting. How did people find out? I asked. I think maybe Aunt Rachel, Mia said hesitantly. You know, Dad's cousin? She was at Grandma's funeral and she kept in touch with you, right? I saw her commenting on Mom's post, asking questions, and then other family members started asking stuff too. Rachel, Margaret's niece, a good woman who'd been furious when she found out David and Lisa had moved into the house and I'd been relegated to one room. She'd called it disrespectful. I'd told her it was fine, that I didn't mind helping family, but I'd also mentioned weeks ago in a phone call with her that things were getting strained, that I felt invisible in my own home, that David and Lisa had been talking about my future without including me in the conversation. I'd kept it vague, not wanting to burden her with details, but Rachel was smart, sharp. She must have pieced it together when she saw Lisa's manipulative post. Must have started asking pointed questions in public spaces, forcing the truth into the light. Good for her. Mia, honey, I need you to understand something. None of this is your fault, not any of it. You're the best thing in that house. You're the only one who still made me feel like I mattered. You do matter, Grandpa. You matter so much. She was crying now, really crying. I don't want you to go. I don't want to live in that house if they kicked you out. Oh, sweetheart, you're 16. You don't have a choice about where you live right now, but you do have a choice about what kind of person you become. Be better than this. Be better than what your parents did. Be someone who values people over property. Can you do that for me? I promise, she whispered. Good girl. Now listen, I want you to come visit me this weekend. I'll text you my new address. I want to show you my place. It's small, but it's peaceful, and I want to give you something. What? You'll see. But Mia, whatever happens between me and your parents, you and I are solid. Always. Remember that. After we hung up, I sat with my tea and thought about the Facebook post being deleted, about the questions being asked, about the public narrative crumbling around David and Lisa's manufactured victim story. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's just the truth, quietly spreading, impossible to contain. Thursday, I got a different kind of message from David's cousin Rachel. Henry, I heard what's happening. I'm so sorry. If you need anything, please let me know. What they're doing is shameful. The whole family is talking about it. The whole family. So it was out now, really out. Not just Facebook strangers, but the extended family, the cousins and aunts and uncles who'd known me for decades, who'd known Margaret, who knew exactly what that house meant to us. I texted back, thank you, Rachel. I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. I'm finally choosing peace over being used. Good for you, she replied. Margaret would be proud. That made my eyes sting. Would she be proud? Or would she be disappointed that I let it get this far, that I didn't stand up for myself sooner? No, Margaret would understand. She'd see what I saw, that sometimes love means letting people face their own consequences, that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is stop enabling. Friday afternoon, David showed up at my apartment, alone this time. No Lisa, no backup. I opened the door and just looked at him. He looked terrible, bags under his eyes, clothes wrinkled. The stress of the week written all over his face. Can I come in? He asked quietly. I hesitated, then stepped back, let him enter. He looked around my small apartment, taking in the sparse furniture, the boxes still unpacked, Margaret's things carefully arranged on the shelves. Dad, He stopped, ran his hand through his hair. I don't even know where to start. The beginning might be good, I said, sitting down in Margaret's reading chair. When exactly did you decide I was disposable? He flinched. That's not what we thought. That's not what we were doing. Then what were you doing, David? Explain it to me. Because from where I'm sitting, you spent 3 years living in my house, letting me pay your bills, watching me grieve for your mother, and then decided the best course of action was to text me that I was being shipped off to assisted living so you could have more space. Explain to me how that's not exactly what it looks like. We thought, he sat down heavily on my couch, we thought you'd be happier, safer, somewhere with people around all the time, activities, medical support nearby. You're alone so much, Dad. After Mom died, you just retreated. We worried about you. You worried about me, I repeated. Is that why you redecorated my house? Painted over the colors Margaret chose, dug up her garden, changed everything to suit your taste? Because you were worried about me? We were trying to make it feel like home. Our home? We've been there 3 years. It is my home. My voice rose and I saw him jump. It's been my home for 43 years. You were supposed to be guests, temporary, just until we get back on our feet, you said. But you never left. You just took over, pushed me into one room, made me a stranger in my own house. And I let you because I thought. What? He asked quietly. I thought you needed me. I thought I was helping. I thought being a good father meant sacrificing. But all I did was enable you to take and take and take. without ever giving back, without ever even saying thank you. David looked down at his hands. I didn't know about the money. I swear to you, I didn't know you were paying all those bills. You didn't want to know, I corrected. There's a difference. The bills were there. They existed. I routed them through a P.O. box to keep them off your radar, to keep you from worrying, but you never asked, not once in 3 years did you ask, Dad, how are the property taxes getting paid? Who's handling the insurance? You didn't ask because you didn't want to face the answer, because knowing would mean acknowledging the debt, and acknowledging the debt would mean you couldn't treat me like a burden. The refinance fell through, he said after a long silence. Without proof of current tax payments and insurance, they wouldn't approve it. And with the penalties coming, we're looking at possibly losing the house if we can't pay everything that's owed. I felt nothing. No sympathy, no urge to fix it, just cold, hard clarity. That's unfortunate, I said. Unfortunate? He looked up at me, eyes wide. Dad, that's your house, our home, Mom's home. You'd really let us lose it? It stopped being my house the moment you told me I had to leave it. And it stopped being your mom's home when you ripped out her rose garden. So, yes, David, I'd really let you lose it because it's not mine to save anymore. You made sure of that. What do you want? His voice broke. What do I have to do to make this right? There is no making this right, I said quietly. You can't unsend that text. You can't unmake that decision. You can't give me back 3 years of feeling like an intruder in my own home. The damage is done, son. All that's left now is consequences. So you're just, done with me? Done with your family? I'm done being taken advantage of. I'm done being convenient. I'm done sacrificing myself for people who see me as a problem to solve instead of a person to love. I leaned forward. But Mia is welcome here anytime. That girl is the only one who treated me like I mattered, the only one who visited my room just to talk, the only one who remembered I exist. So no, I'm not done with my family. Just the parts of my family who decided I wasn't worth keeping around. David stood up and I saw his hands were shaking. I'm sorry, Dad. I am. I'm sorry we hurt you. I'm sorry we didn't appreciate what you were doing. I'm sorry about the text, but please don't do this. Don't let us lose everything. You already lost everything, I said. You just don't realize it yet. You lost your father's respect. You lost your daughter's trust. You lost your integrity, and you lost any claim to that house the moment you tried to evict the man who was, keeping it standing. The bank might take the house, David, but you'd already thrown away everything that mattered. He left without another word, just walked out, shoulders slumped, defeated. I sat in Margaret's chair for a long time after he left, felt her presence around me, wondered what she'd think of all this. I did the right thing, didn't I, Maggie? I asked the empty room. The silence felt like agreement. Saturday, Mia came to visit. I gave her the grand tour of my little apartment, showed her where I'd set up all of Margaret's things, let her help me unpack some boxes. Over lunch, I handed her an envelope. This is for you. She opened it carefully. Inside was a copy of my new will, simplified and explained so she could understand it. Grandpa, what is this? That's my will, the updated version. I want you to know what's in it so there are no surprises later. Her eyes scanned the pages, widening as she read. You're leaving everything to me? But what about Dad? Your father made his choices. He chose property over people. He chose convenience over compassion. I'm choosing differently. I'm choosing the person who still knows how to love without conditions. But Grandpa, this is a lot. It's not as much as you might think. Most of my savings went to maintaining their house. But what's left, my truck, my tools, some money, Margaret's jewelry, it's yours. Not to be cruel to your father, but because you're the one who deserves it. You're the one who'll appreciate it. You're the one who'll remember me as a person, not a checkbook. She was crying, and I pulled her into a hug. You're not dying, are you? she asked, voice muffled against my shoulder. Not anytime soon, kiddo, but I'm 72. I'm planning ahead, and I'm planning for the people who matter. That's you. We spent the rest of the afternoon together. She told me about school, about her friends, about the boys she liked. Normal things, good things, the kind of conversation I'd been missing in that house where I'd become invisible. When she left that evening, she hugged me tight. I love you, Grandpa. No matter what happens with Mom and Dad, I love you. I love you too, Mia, more than you know. The following weeks were quiet. David didn't call again. Lisa certainly didn't. I heard through Rachel that they were scrambling to pay the back taxes, taking out loans, maxing out credit cards. They'd managed to avoid foreclosure, but barely. The refinance was dead. Their credit was damaged. Their plans were ruined. Mia visited every weekend. She was my anchor, my reminder that not everything in that family was broken. 3 months later, I was in my garden, a small plot I'd started on my apartment's patio, growing some of Margaret's favorite herbs, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mr. Cole, this is Linda Chen from Evergreen Senior Living. I wanted to follow up on the inquiry your son made about our facility. I felt my jaw tighten. I didn't make any inquiry. Oh, I'm sorry. Your son David called several months ago asking about availability and pricing. He said it was for you. We've had a spot open up and wanted to reach out. Several months ago, not 3 months ago, not recently, several months ago. Before that text, long before. Miss Chen, can I ask when exactly my son called? Let me check. Yes, here it is. He first contacted us back in early spring, March 15th specifically. He scheduled a tour, asked about costs, mentioned he was planning ahead for your care needs. March 15th, 4 months before he sent that text. 4 months of planning my exit while I lived under the same roof, paid the bills, and thought we were family. He hadn't made a sudden decision. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing born of stress or worry. He'd been planning to get rid of me for months, researching facilities, pricing out options, preparing my removal while I fixed squeaky doors and paid property taxes. Ms. Chen, I appreciate the call, but I'm not interested. I'm perfectly capable of living independently. My son was mistaken about what I needed. I understand. Should I remove you from our contact list? Yes, please. Thank you. After I hung up, I sat there holding my phone. March 15th. 4 months of deception. 4 months of him planning my exile while smiling at the dinner table. While I wrote checks for his house repairs, while I made myself small and unobtrusive so as not to burden him, the betrayal cut fresh, even after all this time. But then I looked around my little patio, at Margaret's herbs growing in the sunshine, at the peace I'd built in this small space, and I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. Anger had given way to something else. Acceptance, understanding, a cold, clear vision of who my son had become and what I'd lost, but also what I'd gained. I'd gained my dignity back, my autonomy, my right to choose my own life instead of having it chosen for me. I'd gained Mia's unwavering love and respect. I'd gained peace. Revenge, I realized, wasn't making them suffer. It was letting them face the consequences of their choices while I chose a different path entirely. Now, sitting here months later, I want to tell you something. If you're listening to this, if my story resonates with you, remember this. You spend your whole life fixing things, thinking that's love. You fix the roof, fix the car, fix the problems, fix the relationships. You think if you just hold it together long enough, people will appreciate you, they'll value you, they'll see your worth. But some people don't want fixing. They want control, they want convenience, they want what you can give them without the inconvenience of actually having you around. And when you finally realize that, when that click happens and everything becomes clear, you have a choice to make. You can keep fixing, keep enabling, keep sacrificing yourself for people who see you as a tool not a person. Or you can step back, let them feel the cold, let them understand what they had only after it's gone. My revenge wasn't turning off their lights or ruining their refinance or destroying their plans. My revenge wasn't even about them at all when you get down to it. My revenge was finally turning on my own lights, was choosing peace over being used, was deciding that my final years weren't going to be spent begging for scraps of respect from people who should have given it freely. I'm 72 years old. I've worked my whole life. I've raised a family. I've loved a woman so deeply that 4 years after her death, I still talk to her empty chair. I've sacrificed. I've provided. I've fixed things until my hands ached and my savings drained. And you know what I've learned? The best revenge isn't yelling or proving you're right or making people suffer. The best revenge is stepping back, letting people feel the natural consequences of their choices and choosing a warmer life for yourself. They wanted the house without me. They got it with all its responsibilities, all its costs, all the weight I'd been carrying alone. And I got my peace, my dignity, my small apartment with Margaret's herbs growing on the patio, and Mia's laughter filling the rooms every weekend. Who got the better deal? I'll let you decide. But I'll tell you this, every night when I go to bed in my small apartment, in my own space that no one can take from me, I sleep better than I did in that big house where I was invisible, because I'm not invisible anymore. Not to myself, and certainly not to the people who matter. So if you're out there dealing with family who treats you like a burden, who takes your kindness for weakness, who expects you to sacrifice endlessly without recognition or respect, remember this: you don't owe anyone your peace. You don't owe anyone your dignity. You don't owe anyone the right to use you up and throw you away. Step back, let them feel the cold, and choose the warmth of a life where you matter. That's not revenge, that's survival, that's self-respect, that's finally putting yourself first. My name is Henry Cole. I'm 72 years old, and I've learned that sometimes the best thing you can fix is your own boundaries. Fridays are still my favorite day, but now they're favorite days in a home that's truly mine, with a granddaughter who truly loves me and a future that's truly my own. And that, my friends, is the coldest revenge of all.